Basics X twin. I'm not sure if I'm going to give this next Friday or next Monday. I'm kind of leaning towards the 9th, to be honest with you. All right, so what do we have here? We have a logarithm, we have a base, we have an argument, and we have an exponent. So 5 squared must equal 2x minus 10. Of course, you know 5 squared is 25. And hopefully you know that the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're just going to take that 10, shift it left. 25 plus 10 is 35, and we're going to divide by 2. We're just going to get that x is 35 seconds. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, express the 5th root of 6x squared plus 4 using the notation x to the power over r. Hopefully you guys get this go around if you didn't get it the last time. But the 5th root is the 1/5 power. And again, we consider all of this to be the stuff inside to just be raised to the 1st power, because it is itself. Hopefully that enables us to figure out how to do number 3. So we're going to rewrite the left-hand side as all of 3x squared minus 5 to the 1/7 power. We're going to put a 2 in y2. Now, apparently this one has 2 answers. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. We'll find out. So we have here, we have a 3x squared minus 5, which is a parabola. Then you're going to take the 7th root of it. So you're going to get an interesting looking thing. It's raised to the 1/7 power. 2 in y2. Zoom 6 unless you're doing data. Yeah, there's why it has 2 answers. Because it has perfect symmetry. And hopefully we don't have to go beyond a zoom 6. Second trace 5. Whatever I get for one answer, I'm just going to change the sign for the other because the thing has perfect symmetry. It's the same on the right as it is on the left. Enter, enter, enter. So 6.6583. And the other one would just be negative 6.6583 because of symmetry. Solve the factored polynomial. So if the factor has an x, you set it equal to 0. It's called zero product property. So if x minus 2 is a 0, then x is 2. If 4x minus 5 is a 0, then we're going to add 5 divided by 4. X is 5/4. And, this one takes a little more work. If 6x squared minus 150 is 0, then 6x squared is 150. Divide through by 6. What do you get? What, 25? 25 seems right. Should be right. And then the opposite of squaring is square rooting, so we are plus or minus 5. If f of c is 0, then I know that this, by the way, legit says x is c. That means x equals c is also a 0. Shift it to the left, I get x minus c equals 0 written like that. That's a factor. If I am a factor, then when I divide, my remainder is going to be 0. And if I enter nicely with a remainder of 0, I'm said to enter evenly in math speak. Same as it was last time, kids. Solve for natural logs of 4x minus 3 equals 16. Of course, if you see an ln, it is understood that the base is e, but before we even worry about that, we need to divide that 4 out. So the natural log with an understood base of e, argument 4x minus 3 is now 4. And we're just going to convert here. We have a base, we have an argument, we have an exponent. So e to the 4th is 4x minus 3. Add 3 to both sides. E to the 4th plus 3 is 4x. Divide by 4, e to the 4th plus 3, sitting pretty over 4, is my x value. Determine the average rate of change from x equals 1 to x equals 8 using the table. Average rate of change, of course, being f of b minus f of a, sitting pretty over b minus a. And these are a and b right here. Those are a and b. So the bottom is going to be 8 minus 1. Now, f of b would be the value when x is 8, and we get a 12. We're going to take away f of 1, which is a 10, and we're going to get 2 sitting pretty over 7. Solve using the quadratic formula. Not everybody knows it yet. It's a real shame. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I'm still seeing some dum-dums put like x squared in for a. A is 2, bruh. B is negative 8. C is negative 3. Ain't rocket science. Opposite of a negative 8 is positive 8, plus or minus. Always use parentheses here because you're a button pusher, and that's 90% of your problem is you don't want to think. You want something else to do the thinking for you. Anywho's, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 3. And that's all sitting pretty over twice a 2. I'm not really a button pusher. I know that this is 64. I know the negative times negative is positive, so I'm about to addition, okay? 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. 64 plus 24 is 88. Always has been, always will be. So I have 8 plus or minus root 88, both pieces sitting over 4. Now root 88 is divisible by at least 4. It's 4, it's actually 8 times 11, but 8 is 2 times 4. So this root 88 is a root of 4 times root of 22. And I can't do anything with 22 because I could say it's 2 times 11. Those are both primes. I can't take square roots of primes. But anywho, it becomes 2 root 22, and it's sitting over 4. Now 8 over 4 is a 2. 2 over 4 is a half, right? So root 22 over 2. Which of the following is equivalent to the fourth root of 625? So, like, you got to understand P over R notation. And if you do, the rest of it's easy peasy. I'm just showing you that you can do the entire blasted thing in a calculator. I'm not actually going to do it in a calculator because I already know the answer is 5. But anyways, if I take 625 and I raise her to the 1/4 power, there's a 5. Anything else that gives me a 5 is correct, right? Okay, this is obviously what I did in the calculator. The square root of 25 is 5, and the cubic root of 125 is also 5. Use synthetic division to factor x cubed minus 3x squared plus 16x minus 48, given that f of 3 is 0. So here's actually one of your factors. One of your factors is already given. It's x minus 3. The x value, this does say x is 3. The value of x goes out front. We have 1, negative 3, 16, and negative 48. Those are our coefficients. We drop the 1. 3 ones makes a 3. We add. We get a 0. We multiply. We add. We multiply. And we add. What I just did was drop, multiply, and add. After I drop, I multiply and add until I get a 0 or I'm done. One of the two. Remember, this is your remainder, your constant, your x, and your x squared. I am left with x squared plus 16 being a 0. Now, this thing doesn't factor nicely over the real number system. It has imaginary factors. X squared is negative 16. X is therefore plus or minus 4i. Now, if I'm a positive 4i, I'm a negative 4i in a factor. If I'm a negative 4i, I'm a positive 4i in a factor. I'm going to pause and I'll be right back. I probably need to go make some copies or something. All right. So I'm sitting at 11. Given 3 terms of the sequence, negative 3, 10, 23, write a rule. This is obviously arithmetic with a common difference of 13. We are adding 13. The difference is always the second minus the first. And anyways, you get 13. I'm actually going to put the d in front of n minus 1 instead of behind. So the nth term is the first term, which is negative 3, plus the difference of 13 times n minus 1. We don't put anything in for n. You are writing a rule. It's an explicit rule. It says, give me the number of the term you want, and I spit it back. So many of y'all, I don't know how you got to be juniors, to be quite honest with you. Blows my mind. Like you should have been failed a couple of times until you were forced to figure it out. I mean that honestly. Like you should not have been progressed. It actually did you harm being progressed. It did. That seems cruel, but it's the reality of it. We should not be progressed until we're ready to be progressed, and you weren't. An arithmetic sequence is given as 2, 11. That should be geometric. No, it's not. It just has a typo, doesn't it? That needs to be an 18. 2, 11, 18. That ain't right either. Let's see. We're adding what, 9? 20. There we go. 2, 11, 20. Let me pause this real quick and fix that. All right, anyway, so I know some things. So let me show you how I would do this. 12 minus 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. The sum of 9 things is 9 over 2. I want the fourth term, which I'm just easily going to add 9 and make 29. The first term of 29 plus the last, which is actually ace of 12 on this one. And I can find the 12th term by taking the first term and adding the difference of 9 in parentheses up here is n minus 1. If I'm at the 12th term, 12 minus 1 is 11. And that's what I would push buttons on a calculator. I can do these explicitly. Yay, good for me, right? You probably don't care. We got 9 halves. We got a 29 plus 2, which is 31 times 40. This should be the answer, 180. Seems a little low, doesn't it? I know it's low. Oh, because I'm an idiot. That's 99 plus 2 is 101. That should be 9 over 2 times 130. Glad I thought about that. This should be the answer, 130. 585. Now, what you're going to have to do probably is you're probably going to have to write out the whole sequence. The fourth term is 29. We add 9, we get 38. We add 9, we get 47. We add 9, we get 56. We add 9, we get 64. We add 9, we get 73. We add 9, we get 82. We add 9, we get 91. We add 9, we get 100. Seems off. 29, 38, 47, 56, 65, 74, 83, 92, 101. And that should be the last term. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And you just add all those together. I don't know. You do you. I don't care. Geometric sequence is given as -5 to -4/5. Write both a recursive rule and explicit rule for the sequence. This is actually the same question was on the last quiz. I think it really was. But since it's geometric, the ratio is always the second over the first, which would be 2 over a -5, which is obviously -2/5. The rule is given off to the side, but the nth term is the first term of -5. The ratio is the guy with the exponent, and it gets raised to n minus 1. That's the explicit form. The recursive rule would be that I have piecewise function, 2 stories, -5 if n is 1, and then -2/5 of a sub n minus 1 if n is bigger than 1. You just look over the side of that recursive rule and you just fill in the blanks. That's all you do. All right. Here we have a y1, y2 problem, plus 2 if you can do it algebraically. A geometric sequence has a first term of 2, a common ratio of 3, and the sum of n terms is 14 million and some change. How many terms were there? So here's the setup. We're going to use this guy right here. 14,348,906 is the first term of 2 times 1 minus the ratio of 3 to the n power, because I don't know what n is. It's n over 1 minus 3. Now I'm going to do this by hand, and I'm going to check it with the TI-84. So, I'm going to do me. 1 minus 3 is -2. Divided by 2 is a -1. So I've got 14 million and some change being a -1 minus 3 to the n. I'm going to divide out my negativity. 14 million and some change. And this is now negative because I divided both sides by negative. I'm going to take away 1. I'm going to divide out negativity again. And now I'm going to convert to a logarithm. This is a log base 3. A log whose base is 3 and whose argument is 14 million and some change is my n. Now I'm going to use what we call change of base, and I'm going to see what this is. So the natural log of 14 million and some change. And you do get bonus points if you can do this using logarithms, okay? You do. And not enough of you will do it because, you're weak. I get 15. Now, if you want the easy way to do it, and it's honestly going to take me longer to do it this way, you still got to know how to write everything out. We had 14 million and some change. We're going to put that in y1. Y2 is going to be, let's see, what was the first term on that thing? A 2? Yeah, it's this piece right here. 2 parentheses math num n over d 1 minus parentheses 3. She gets raised to the x. And she's sitting over 1 minus 3. And if you don't know what a minus 3 is, TI-84 don't judge. I say that all the time. I judge. TI-84 don't judge. I'm going to do a zoom 6. Absolutely worthless. Because you're going to have to look really high in the sky. I mean, you've got almost 15 million that you stuck into Y2. So it's way on up here, right? So I'm going to go to window, whenever my calculator's done. I'm going to set my Y max to be 15 million. And then I'm going to look at the graph again. Of course, I know already it ain't going to work because I already have a valid answer. It's over there on the side. We shall see, though. I don't even know that you'll see it really start taking off. So the answer's still got to be somewhere over here. So window, let's set an X max of around 20. It'll do it, I'm sure, because the answer's 15. And then we'll hit second trace 5 as soon as we see an intersection happen. It's funny how exponential growth is just flat for a minute and then it's not. Second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. And there you go, 15. All right, completely simplify the expression such that all exponents are positive. 55 and 25 are both divisible by 5. That's 11 over 5. Let me rewrite that properly. If I look at my exponents here, e to the negative 4th and e to the negative 7, I'm going to shift these up. That's e to the negative 4th times e to the 7th. We add exponents, e cubed, up high. I've got a negative 23. I'm going to shift it down low, so my attention span is right here right now. I'm going to shift that guy down. I'm going to have in the bottom, x to the 14th, x to the 23rd. 14 and 23, I believe, makes 37. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, 243 happens to be a power of 3. It's not rocket science here, but for some kids it may as well be. But 2 full 3, that is a 4th root to the 1/4 power, is going to be a 3. Oh, apparently it's not. All I'm doing is 7s here. That's my thing. 3, here's my mistake. 243 is 3 to the 5th. That's what I get for talking smack, isn't it? I'm somewhere else. 243 is 3 to the 5th. So what I do is I realize that this is 81 times 3. The 4th root of 81 is 3. There's going to be a 3 on the outside, and there's still going to be a 3 on the inside. Now 4 enters 16 4 times with 0 remainder. 4 enters 13 3 times with a remainder of 1. There you go. 18, solve something with a calculator. So we're supposed to do this using change of base. I'm an ln guy. I'm going to say ln of 2x minus 6, sitting pretty over ln of 2, and then take away 3. Y2 would be ln of 4x minus 9, sitting pretty over ln of 4, and then add 1. I'm going to pause this real quick. All right, so I've typed it all in. I'm going to do a zoom 6. I'm going to double check and make sure I typed everything in right. I went old school. I wrote horizontally. You know that if you rolled like me, that's old school. All right, so where does this thing have an answer? Doesn't have an answer here. The answer is somewhere over here. Let's go out a couple hundred units. Change that X max to 100. Hundred's not good enough now, is it? Just wasting my time. Let's go to 500. Ooh, 500. 18 minutes till classes start. Today, Junior. There we go. There's an intersection, right? So second trace, 5. And again, you just, well, then your cursor showed up, even better. Enter, enter, enter. 259.7478. 259.7478. 5479. I think I said 78. Yeah, I did. All right, 19. Find the average rate of change for f of x shown on the interval from -1 to -3. If you want to go back to middle school, you can. All right, you can. You rose from -9 to 3, so you rose 12, and you ran from -1 to 3, 4, which is 3. If you want to go to about 8th grade, maybe early 7th, just use your formula for slope, y2 minus y1, sitting pretty over x2 minus x1. Guess what you're going to get? You're going to get the same exact thing. It's 3. Like, wow. Don't miss that. Don't be that kid. Last algebra, and then we got a little bit of statistics here that we're going to talk about over the course of the week. Hopefully, we'll find out. Just depends on what I decide to do. If I want to do some ACT prep or next week, not next week. I'm going to subtract 6 and get a 12. We're going to divide by 4. I probably do need to do some ACT prep because the rest of the school needs you guys to do well on the ACT. I get judged based on how you do on my EOC, but everybody else, they need the ACT score. All right, so anyways, I divided out by 4. I'm going to do log as bay. This is my base. My exponent means that's my argument. A log of base 2, I don't know why I put that in parentheses, probably because I'm in a hurry, and whose argument is argument is 3, is equal to x minus 3. Add 3 to both sides. A log base 2, argument 3, plus 3 is my x value. Now, I want to, that's my perfect form. I need a decimal. So I'm going to do ln of 3, sitting pretty over the natural log of the base, and then I'm going to add this 3, and it's about 4.5850. I know that's a hard thing for way too many kids to round, but this 6 turns that 9 into a 0, turns that 4 into a 1, because we just keep going. And if somebody tells you to round to the 4th decimal place, you include the 0, unless it was a perfect thing, and this one was not. It was rounded. Quantitative means numbers. There's two big ones. There's quantitative and there's qualitative. Qualitative would mean quality. This is a qualitative. D is a qualitative. Color is a quality. The proportion of backpacks that weigh more than 10 pounds. That's not a variable. It's really not. The number of books in a backpack, that is a quantitative. B is a good one, but B is not a variable. So that's the problem. So C, the number of books in a backpack, because it's a quantity, something you can count. Let's see, the first floor residents of a building were polled about who they would vote for in the upcoming city election for comptroller. What are the sample and the population? Let's see, sample starts with an S, so does the word statistic. But I don't know if that applies to this one. And population parameter. Anyways, I want to know who's going on here. What is the sample? So first floor residents, who they're going to vote for in the upcoming city election for comptroller. The population is going to be everybody in the city who can vote. The sample is residents on the first floor. What they're doing is they're walking around and they're seeing how people are going to vote, and they're going to make a conclusion based on the people they ask. They're being quite lazy about it, so there might be bias. These might be old people who are more likely to vote. All right, I got this stuff over here for you too, but a census reports the mean annual income is 52,000 roughly in a random sample statistic. They both start with an S. As a statistic. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Which of the following types of samples are biased? Select all that apply. Now, stratified, cluster, and systematic can have bias, but you just take care to avoid it. The ones that are definitely biased by default are convenience and self-selected. So it's those two. A class of students is randomly divided into two groups. One group meditates before taking a test. The other group does not. The test scores of the groups are compared. What type of study is described? It's an experiment. There is a control group. It's missing the it does say randomly too. So we have randomly divided a group into two pieces. One group does something, the other group does not. That's an experiment. All right, a list of basketball players is divided into groups by the players' positions. A random sample from each group is surveyed. What kind of sampling method is used? So they're divided by position. Stratified sampling is when a population is divided into groups with similar characteristics and a sample is randomly chosen from each group. That's stratified. And then you take a random sample. That's the definition of stratified. And I believe that's it. Yeah, that's that twin. It is. Awesome sauce.